Welcome to another episode of Geek-Men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I'm Dustin.
I'm Bud.
And this is the podcast that talks about all the things you love.
Without all the hate.
That's right. You know, it's good to be back. I'm excited because we're going to talk about some more geek stuff. And I like to talk about geek stuff. What about you, Bo?
Of course. I hate it. You know how much I hate talking about geek stuff.
It's such a problem. I don't want to talk about geek stuff.
It's just a job. But no, of course I love talking about geek stuff. It's my livelihood. It keeps me going.
Right. And as with most episodes where we talk about geek stuff, we also have a guest. Who do we have today, Bo?
We have today. This is a first for us. We have our first musical guest. He's a musical act out of South Carolina. Got his first album fixing to release at the end of September.
Nice.
Self-titled John Prater and the Benders. Please welcome one Mr. John Prater.
Woo! Welcome.
Who I believe is actually going to save the blues country genre. Because it's kind of.
I don't know if I'm going to save it, but I'm going to prolong it.
Give it a nice shot in the arm, at least.
Prolong its suffering or prolong...
Both.
Yeah. I mean, because that's like, I don't know, almost like kind of a trademark of the blues. It's like, it's got so much like feeling and soul, like all the pain sometimes. Sometimes it's the joy too, but I like other songs where it's like pulling out all the emotion.
I consider it the only actual real American music. The first ever genre of music born specifically in America.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I consider it that.
No. So geek out about music for us. Like what? I know you like. Explain to us. Like I know you love several genres of music, but what is it about the blues? What is it that got you into the blues? Like how did you get into that genre specifically?
When I started playing guitar, I really, really liked AC/DC, and I really liked like Metallica and hard bands. Which I mean, AC/DC is not that hard, and AC/DC is a blues-based hard rock band. So I mean, you can kind of throw them into anything I'm talking about. But I remember that I had this friend that played guitar, and I was asking him, how does he do all this stuff? How does he make his guitar sound like that? How is he learning all these licks and these sounds? And I told him, he said, well, what kind of music do you like? And he said, what are you trying to learn how to do? He said, what kind of songs are you trying to learn? I told him, he said, no, you're going about this all wrong. And he pulled out a Walkman, CD Walkman, and he put a CD in it. And he said, listen to this. And it was Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. And he put that song on, The Things That I Used to Do.
Mm.
And it changed my whole musical outlook. I knew right then and there I didn't want to play anything. I didn't want to learn guitar in any other way than what the blues could teach me. Because the blues can apply to anything. You can apply the blues to country. You can apply it to rock. Blues birthed rock and roll. So that was the moment that changed my whole outlook on music. I can remember that moment. I can remember the room I was in, the song, everything.
What was the song?
The Things That I Used to Do.
Mm.
That's a good song.
So at that moment, what was it in particular about that song what was it about Stevie Ray Vaughan?
The feeling. You can listen to 1,000 metal players play flurries and notes over a guitar and not hear any emotion, but you can listen to a good blues player hit one or two notes and have more emotion in those one or two notes than most people can put in a whole song. And that changed me.
What I always found in particular about, I think there's a strong relationship between classical metal and blues. For me, it's the technicality of it. There's a strong technical. You just need to be technically advanced to play. I think all of them.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a technical thing when it comes to the blues. It's more along the lines of, does this note or series of notes fit the feeling you're trying to convey? And I understand where you come from, because I mean, if you listen to old Ozzy albums and listen to Randy Rhoads playing Mr. Crowley, I get what you're saying, and you're true on that point. But when it comes to the difference between the two, I mean, Buddy Guy is not the most technically gifted guitar player in the world, but that man can make a guitar make you feel something.
Yeah.
So, not to disparage Buddy Guy, because I love me some Buddy Guy. He's a legend.
Yeah. I think about it like more along the lines like when they teach you how to play piano, they teach you the technicality of it, and then it's about can you play it with feeling.
Yeah.
Yourself personally, and not play it like a machine, basically.
Yeah, and that's the difference I see between a lot of metal and a lot of blues, and a lot of metal and blues is that when people are playing metal, they're playing it like a machine, and then when people are playing blues, they're playing from their soul, especially if they're good at it. And that's because that's where it comes from. It comes from soul.
So when did you get into music?
I've always been in music. My whole life I've loved music. This album being released is a childhood dream. I can remember being 6 or 7 years old out on my swing at my grandma Miller's house and swinging, listening to the radio and singing along with 90s country music, and just thinking one day I'd do that.
Nice.
Which doesn't seem like, for us, it doesn't seem that long ago, but the 90s, man, it's like, man.
You realize it's been a while now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
A long time ago. Seems like yesterday, but it's a long time ago.
Start busting out in some country song, because that's probably the last time I listened to the radio, and then my kids just roll their eyes and wait for it to be over.
Yeah, it's a different scene, man. So, what made you specifically pick, like, what was it about the guitar? Like, when did you start playing the guitar, and how did you learn?
Well, the guitar, because my very first guitar hero was Angus Young, little dude in a schoolboy uniform, and never stopped moving on stage the whole time. Never stopped moving.
He's looks so like kinetic, man.
Looks like he's having a seizure while he's playing guitar.
A little bit.
But the man is a lead guitar machine now. I don't think there's ever been anybody that's been a lead guitar machine, and he was my first guitar hero. And I think that I wanted to start learning to play guitar because that was my first rock and roll album that I ever had, was Back in Black by AC/DC, and my brother bought it for me. And I want to learn how to play guitar. My brother gave me a beat up old acoustic guitar. Didn't even have a name on it. Didn't even have a name in the headstock or inside the body. Didn't have a serial number. Warped. You couldn't hardly press the strings down at the 12th fret. They were so high up. And he taught me 4 chords, and he taught me the first position of the pentatonic scale. And he said, "It's all you." And then he'd come in my room every day and say, "You suck, dude." And I'd get pissed off, and I'd play for like 3 hours. And I did that for a year or two. And I still wasn't good after a year or two. I wouldn't say I was good, and I wouldn't say that I was, I'd say I sucked. But like that started my dedication and my drive to be better, to learn new things and hear a new lick that somebody did and say, "I wonder how he's doing that," or "I wonder how she's doing that."
Yeah.
And then drive myself to find a way to play it or find something similar to it, and then bend it and shape it in a way to make it my own, so that it would be more inspired by instead of a direct copy of.
Right.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that could have easily deterred you too. That's one of those, like,
it diverging
road type of things.
It probably would have deterred me if it would have been anybody but my brother. If you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Being told you suck by a stranger is a lot more demoralizing than being told you suck by a sibling, because then you got to prove yourself.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that sibling rivalry, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I think about.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't know if I ever competed with my brother for anything other than, I don't know, my dad's love or anything, which I didn't compete too hard for, because it was really no contest.
You can't just casually drop that, man. Except for my dad's love.
But no, I had an art teacher in high school that said, you should just quit while you're ahead. I loved to draw up until that point, and then I'm just like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna do something else, I guess.
Same thing happened to me, dude.
We had the same art teacher. I remember that. It
Yeah, I
was
mean, it's
because
just,
he was in because John's in a DBZ.
She wanted us to draw something that had to do with weather, that had to do with the weather. Like sketches had to involve the weather. And I remember her walking up to me and me pulling my sketches out. And she said, "Oh, let me guess. It's some guy with lightning coming out of his hands and this, that, and the other." And nope, it was, I drew a tornado destroying a town. And then I drew a sun with an angry face. And she stopped, and it about killed her to know that she had just said that out loud in front of everybody, trying to make me look like a fool.
jeez.
And then,
You got to encourage your kids to follow your passions.
well, I mean, if you think about it, I had the greatest music teacher in the world. Like if she was still alive and I could find her, I would hug her neck and tell her thank her for everything that she ever taught me.
Well, talk about her. Who was she?
Miss Davis. She would never bend you to a certain way. She didn't want to bend you to a certain way. She was a woman that understood that, music is an art, and art is to be interpreted the way you feel it. She understood that. She played piano. She taught us how to sing. She understood that as an art, it was the way you interpret it, not the way I interpret it is the way you should interpret it. And that's the way the art teacher was. She was, the way I interpret things is the way you should interpret things. And if you don't, then I'm going to make you look like a fool.
That goes to show you that makes a huge difference.
She taught me the proper way to sing, which is, once you learn the proper way to sing, it's makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So she was a catalyst on this path, on this road.
So you got Miss Davis and you got your brother and Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, well, and my mom too. My mom sang in church years ago, and back when she sang in church, she could make you cry. So she could make you cry. The whole place would just go silent. She was that good. So, and say, probably my biggest influences, as far as like close influences that were around me, it would be my music teacher and my mom and my brother. But if I had to go with for musical influences, it'd be like Stevie Ray Vaughan and the Allman Brothers and AC/DC, Garth Brooks. I mean, any of the old 90s country, that good stuff, all that. All these old blues players, but especially like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Johnny Winter and Buddy Guy and people like that. And then you get these new people coming along, and there's a lot of people who know who John Mayer is, but a lot of people don't know that John Mayer is one of the baddest guitar players that ever walked the face of the earth. And he can play the blues like crazy. And he became one of my influences when I learned that. I started to respect his music more once I learned how insanely talented he was.
But it's funny. He seems to be one of those artists where his singles have kind of outshadowed like his actual main genre of play.
Well, I mean, his new stuff that comes out isn't radio play. It's because I'm starting to learn as time goes by that indie artists are much better than pretty much anything anybody plays on the radio. There's a big difference between being radio famous and being talented.
Right.
Being radio famous and actually writing music that means something. Because I am of the belief that if you're going to play music, or if you're going to do any art form, it should invoke a feeling in somebody. It should invoke an actual emotional response. A lot of mainstream music, mainstream artistry is like a ground up paste that's fed to you.
Mm-hmm.
This is popular. Why? Because we're saying it should be popular.
The funny thing is, it's I saw some they were complaining about. I know this is weird. It's related. If you'll give me this second, but there was a recent thing where they were complaining about like the soundtrack to Spider-Man: Far From Home, about how kids don't really relate to that type of music. They think it should be more modern and it should be more current. And I was like, I don't think it's that far fetched that Peter Parker wouldn't be a Ramones fan, and that kids can't find these older bands, and that why wouldn't they want to?
But nobody said anything about AC/DC being on the Iron Man soundtracks.
Yeah, like I mean, like we found these bands. It's like saying we can't listen to, like, how did we find the Beatles, or like classical music would be irrelevant. Period.
It's like you know who his biggest influence was to speak on Spider-Man. It was Tony Stark. So you're telling me he didn't like just go through Tony Stark's like music library and it rubbed off on him somehow?
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, it makes sense. Somehow Marvel has like worked that into their mythos. Like even like with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's hard to like work in like 80 songs. Well, it's because he has this tape.
It's this pop culture thing.
Yeah,
it's killed the past and embraced the future. But the old saying is, those who do not learn from the past mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them.
Right.
I mean, you shouldn't just learn, but you also shouldn't just learn from the mistakes. You should learn from the successes. And all those old songs and all those old art that would you take down would you take down art from the 60s, pop art from the 60s? Yeah. If somebody gave you one, the soup cans, what's his name?
Andy Warhol.
Would you take down an Andy Warhol painting in your house because somebody else didn't get it?
Oh, it's not relevant anymore.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that.
Because its relevancy in art is not a thing. It's a statement at the time, but like once the statement's made, it's still made. That pop culture is.
It's the cultural impact now.
The
pop culture thing is what's new and shiny and sounds new is more important than where it came from. And
I think that's why this generation is going back to all the 80s stuff and all the 80s and 90s stuff, including music. I think this culture's they're very open about like what they don't want, and they're going out and they're finding either what in the indie scene with indie comics and indie developers, because indie development in video games and indie filmmakers is really pushing it now. They're really becoming popular, and
that'll be the new classic generation when it finally breaks through. Yeah. Because there'll be people that actually did what they wanted to do and didn't worry about what the backlash was going to be, as long as they're not actively attacking anybody, because they're not. It's just, this is the story I want to tell. You don't have to agree with it.
Right.
You don't have to like it. And I think that the society has gotten to the point where everything that's made and everything that has, pushed out into the open and said, here's this. We've gotten to the point where if 75% of the people don't like it and you're one of the 25% of the people who do, you're not valid. And that's not true. 100% of all the opinions are valid opinions, unless it's just this ridiculous hunk of garbage coming out of somebody's mouth.
Yeah. Then we just tend to forget about it after a week anyway.
Yeah. But and that's it's that knee-jerk flash in the pan reaction.
Which I think it's just, I think people have always had this opinion that they voiced. That's just the internet has given them more of a platform to, and more of a community to be able to voice these opinions. Like even, all the way back when, for instance, Michael Keaton was cast as, Batman. Everyone's like, Mr. Mom? The dude from Mr. Mom? Like, people were complaining about that. It would have been a lot bigger noise had there been an internet and a community to go and commiserate with or to complain about, But
and it's crazy because he's still my favorite Batman
yeah,
to this day.
and that's the point. Like the movie came out and he rocked it, and but I mean, I think that's the point. Just like, over time, people are like, oh, there's places for me to go and share my opinion, and everyone wants to go and share their thoughts, and everyone wants to be heard at the end of the day. And I think that's both a good and a bad thing. And I would like to say that a majority of the narrative for creative folks is, if you don't like what I'm doing here, go create yourself.
Yeah.
Like your ideas are great. Sorry, we didn't live up to your expectations, but this is my story. You go tell your story. I think, like the negativity and how it impacted Star Wars. Just look at how that whole thing changed how this sort of industry went. Like, now it's funny because I see so many polls on the internet. It's like, how do you feel about the prequels now? And it's like, the options are always liked them, or like them more than the sequel trilogy, or still hate them. And the thing on all these polls is I'm liking them more than the sequel trilogy, or I've always liked them. Those are the two that are winning, because the voice even though people were, the loudest voice at the time was, I don't like Jar Jar, and the people were complaining about the prequels, oh, I don't like these because they're different from what I grew up with. Those were so loud. Now it's like, hey, here's all these people stepping up and saying, I actually liked them. That voice is being loud, is getting louder.
I liked them from the moment they were released.
Same here.
I liked those. I saw them in the theaters.
Same.
Midnight showings.
Yep. I don't know.
On
about
a side
you.
note about that, you remember all the people that bitched about Hayden Christensen's acting, and now a lot of people are coming out saying, "What are you talking about? He played a great Anakin Skywalker, and he did."
Just like
they're begging for him to be in the next one.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like if you listen to like his inflection in his voice, if you close your eyes and like just try to lower his voice, it sounds like Darth Vader's voice.
Yeah.
Like he matched James Earl Jones' inflection in certain
his inflection and his rate of speaking and
right,
his canter and all that.
Yeah, they complained about the things that Luke was. That's what I always thought was funny. He's like, oh, he whines about like not being what he wants to be and all this stuff. I was like, you mean like Luke?
like Luke not getting to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
It's like, wanting to go to the X5. You want to be in
or not being able to pick the ship up out of the swamp.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that scene right there is still probably my favorite scene in any cinema history, because that whole speech about the nature of the Force and the music as it swells as Yoda's telling him how the Force connects everything, and this
binds us. Yeah,
that's
one of
that is the greatest. I think that's one of the greatest movie scenes in cinema history. That and the beginning of it when it shows Darth Vader on the deck of the Star Destroyer and he's all shiny and everything, and the music's overpowering, and he turns around and walks towards the camera, and I'm like, yeah, you're my favorite villain. You'll always be my favorite villain.
He looks the best in Empire. It's so clean cut. And every little light reflects off of him. He looks so.
And just to go back to the old fight, I still say Darth Vader could kill Darth Maul even in the cybernetic suit, easy.
Oh yeah,
I stand by that.
I love Darth Maul, but
Darth Maul is cool. I do think Vader could take him,
especially after Rogue One. Oh my God, that scene.
Now,
Murder House.
I liked Rogue One. I think it was the most Star Wars of the Star Wars movies we've received. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I dislike.
Oh yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't.
I don't dislike them. And
what are your prediction on the new one? How do you feel about it, or what do you think is going to happen? Or
I'm going to honestly tell you that I think Rey is a clone. And that's why she doesn't remember her parents. I think that she's one of Palpatine's clones. Because
that would be interesting.
I think that the Darth Plagueis thing was that he taught Palpatine how to shift between bodies. And I think that Rey is a clone.
Which would go along with some of the storylines from the expanded universe that they tend to pull from.
Yeah,
It
what
makes
is it?
sense for Vision too. The whole
The Dark
duplication
Empire
thing.
the
Yeah.
Dark Empire, where Luke pretends to fall to the dark side, and Palpatine is resurrected as a younger version of himself.
Yeah,
that's they're pulling a lot from that. Which, and in my mind, and I had this conversation with somebody else the other day, I think that they should not have disbanded and just thrown away the EU. I think they should have stuck with the material they had, because there were so many good novels. That novel series, The Hand of Thrawn. Admiral Thrawn and the Hand of Thrawn was so good. And then the Emperor's Hand, when Luke met Mara Jade and they got married, because Mara Jade was the Emperor's personal assassin.
Right.
He sent out to kill Luke. And it's,
everything, the Jedi Academy series, the X-Wing series.
Shadows.
Yeah,
Shadows of the Empire. The Jedi Knight series, I would have killed to see a movie based on the Jedi Knight series, just to see Kyle Katarn on the big screen.
Yeah,
I would have killed to see that, because Kyle Katarn is one of my favorite characters. He's like, what if you took Han Solo and turned him into a Jedi?
I always think of Corran Horn that way. As like a Han Solo Luke Skywalker mix. But especially since he's Corellian. But what?
I was gonna say, did you see that theory about there's a channel that Oral Nuns, they do like comedy videos, but they brought up that the Star Wars trailer, it does like a heroic operatic theme at the end of the trailer, but it uses Kylo's theme and makes it heroic. Like they were actually suggesting that Kylo's actually going to make a turn.
Yeah, I mean that's the that seems to be what everyone is taking a guess on, that he's going to turn back to the light side. She's going to be Emperor Palpatine's like clone, or be turned by Palpatine and be his sort of apprentice of sorts. But what were you going to say, John?
I was about to agree with you.
Yeah,
I was about to say the same thing you just said.
And then there's another theory camp where she's like, that's just a vision. She's in another like vision type cave. But I think the clone theory has some stand up, because remember when she was in that vision cave and she was in Last Jedi, and it's just her, a million versions of her in the like behind her and in front of her.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just,
plus the echoing and her not having a background, everything's suggesting that it's empty.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would just make sense.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I would kill for them to throw a twist and like that, and just to find out that she was a clone and that she's only been alive as long as she has because the Emperor needs her alive, so he can take her, he can change her to what he wants, or he can prolong his life in her body, just so that the last surviving true Skywalker can return to the light side of the Force and bring the balance again. Like, I would kill for that, because that would, to me, that change right there would save the whole trilogy leading up to that. It would save the whole storyline. I think that would be the
backup plan fails.
It would be like the best ending to the whole Skywalker story, because I mean, this is it. After this, the Skywalker saga is over. This is after this last one. That's it.
So, like, some of the theories for going back to the first one, there was a ship that she sees that's rocketing away from the planet, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the same type of ship that was Luke Skywalker's ship in the comics." And it's like, okay, that could be interesting if that was Luke that dropped her off on the planet and then erased her memory, and it's actually, I don't know, his kid, or that's how she's a Skywalker. Or if Rise of the Skywalker's actually the whole Kylo Ren thing, and or the Ben Solo thing, because he's technically still a descendant of a Skywalker, and he's going to finish what he started, which is the mantra from the first one, and what turns him back to the light side is seeing the Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker, who has, sort of atoned for his sins, or is living through his sins. And that's Hayden Christensen, how Hayden Christensen appears in the movie, and is like, hey man.
Yeah, they also talked about how ghosts can inhabit items,
Yeah,
and in the
if you ever
expanded
played
universe.
if you ever played any of the Knights of the Old Republic games before just the Old Republic came out, there was an actual quest in one of those games where you went to Korriban, and one of the Sith spirits, original Sith spirits, was inhabiting his tomb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was
So
one a Sith inhabited a helmet, and when you put it on there, the Sith could actually control that body. So there's a theory going around that when Kyle is at talking to his grandfather with Vader's helmet, that Palpatine's actually talking to him, because when he zapped him, that Palpatine actually, there's a little bit of Palpatine residue on Vader's helmet, and that he's actually like coaxing him and talking to him as if he's Vader, but he's not actually. Kind of leading him along and misdirecting him, and
I mean,
which I thought was an interesting theory. But
if Disney's out there listening, or if anybody from Disney ever hears that, you need to make a movie based. You need to make a series of movies based on the Old Republic.
Yeah.
You need to make an Old Republic series of movies. I'm just putting it out there. Back when the Jedi were in the height,
wasn't
before
it the
their
rumor
fall.
that the Game of Thrones guys, that's what they might be doing?
Possibly.
That'd be awesome.
I wish. It would be cool. First of all, not to get away from the Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker stuff, because I think there's still a ton of stuff to talk about there, or theorize there. I am anxiously looking forward to it. I'm excited, almost more, if not more than I think, for the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's not Boba Fett, and Boba Fett's my dude. Excuse me. And he was, in the books, in the expanded universe books, he escaped from the Sarlacc pit and was even more awesome. But I'm cool with this because it's the dude from Game of Thrones, and he was the Red Viper, the Sand Snake dude, and the dude who fought the mountain, and he was so cool in that. That fight scene was so awesome, and everything I've seen from The Mandalorian is so cool. I can't wait. It's like Firefly meets Star Wars.
Yeah, Jon Favreau's I know he's having a blast working on that. No pun intended.
And Filoni or however you say his name, he did great with the Clone Wars. I didn't watch the Rebels or the Resistance one, but I thought he did great with Clone Wars. So I'm down.
I don't know if I'll subscribe to it then, but after I heard the news that they're going to do a series based on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ewan McGregor is going to play as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was like, I'm going to subscribe to Disney Plus just to watch that.
Yeah,
Jesus years.
I'm wondering, when he's is it going to be when he's in the desert? I'm guessing, because we've already seen him.
Yeah,
it's got to be, because we've already seen his journey up to the point of.
Yeah, they said it's set during those mysterious years where he's on Tatooine.
Which I'm guessing he won't be on Tatooine the entire time, but.
Yeah, he'll have to leave.
He might leave.
They can't set that whole thing on Tatooine.
But there's going to be plenty of opportunity, plenty of things. They had an Obi-Wan book where, he helped someone at, this local cantina thing, and, but in that
and
book,
I know they've already shot it for the
book,
cartoon, but I would love for them to film it live action. I would love to see the Darth Maul. I would love to see the Darth Maul fight.
Yeah, but it was so good, but it was so quick.
I know. It was like a straight-up samurai fight, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd still would love to see it recreated.
It was perfect. I think it was a testament to Obi-Wan and how serious his charge was.
Yeah.
As quick as it was, it just shows, his mission had changed and how he was sort of on the edge. Like, before, a Jedi... The Jedi's weapon, and the whole persona is knowledge and defense, never attack, But Darth Vader, or Darth Maul, he's like, you're here protecting someone. And you saw in his eyes, oh, it's on. It's over. And as soon as that blade was ignited, he's done. Because at that moment, it was about protection.
Yeah.
He was done. Well, he's still...
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's just he's just so deteriorated by then. He was just it was just pure hate at that point, and he just wouldn't. He didn't have anything then by then.
I think Maul was still pretty much a
Oh, I'm not saying he wasn't a threat, man. I'm not saying that at all.
Very,
I'm just
very
saying,
real threat.
But the end of that scene when he falls over and then he accepts it, the person he's protecting is the chosen one. God bless Alec Guinness.
Yeah, but
he didn't want to play
deal.
it. He didn't want to do that movie, but could you imagine anybody else being old Obi-Wan Kenobi? No, you couldn't.
Can you imagine him phoning it in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure that was practically a phoned-in performance for him.
Well, if it was, man, bravo.
I mean, he's just like...
Yeah, I guess it wasn't like the bridge over the River Kwai, but...
Yeah.
You know, I'd never actually been back and watched those old Dracula movies, like Bela Lugosi.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got on like YouTube and watched clips of them, and Christopher Lee as Dracula is like the greatest thing in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to really invest in watching that. You talking about the Hammer films?
I think so. I just watched
the Hammer version.
I've just watched some clips of Christopher Lee as Dracula, like his entrance
and
Peter Cushing.
Yes, thank you, Peter.
His entrance is when he tells them to enter of their own free will. His is the best.
Mm-hmm. And I swear up and down by those Hammer films, man.
I say that knowing full well that Gary Oldman's out there and he'll probably hunt me down and kill me, and that's fine. If I'm going to die by death by celebrity, I'd wish it would be somebody like Gary Oldman.
He'll probably become you for a week, and people will be like, hey, I saw you the other day, and be like, I wasn't there, I was at home. And then he'll just show up at your house dressed as you, and then slit your throat, and then assume your life for like a month.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I would be fine with that, because it's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
If anybody was going to do it, it's him.
Just like, whoa. Gary Oldman.
I learned how to play the guitar for 2 years before I even murdered the man.
I saw you guys live perform. It was really good. I didn't have a gig the other night. Yeah, you did. It was really good. All right, whatever.
Here, take this stiletto knife. Gary Oldman, no.
Oldman, no. Oh, man.
No, I think what was really cool is how, the friends... They were all friends back then.
I've been thinking about this.
I know, right? But how
Gary Oldman's face over John's.
Well, and you know how Peter Cushing was like, he told Christopher Lee, he's like, this is something else over here. You should really get in on these movies. And he's like, I'm too busy. I don't have time to come, and all that stuff. And he really regretted it after, because he never got to be in that movie with his friend. And I just thought it was really cool how he got to later honor his friend by coming back in the prequel trilogy and play Count Dooku. I just think that was so awesome.
He was probably the best actor out of all of those last two movies, in my opinion.
Why did he drop it? Why did they never use the Darth Tyrannus that much? Lord Tyrannus. Why did they drop it so early?
Well, I think because he had already dropped it. He was known to the Jedi as Dooku. It's like one of those things, when someone's rich and famous, do they really need a persona? He only needed the persona when he was doing nefarious things. But at that point, he was already well in the spotlight as, some, I don't know, bad guy, I guess, as leader of the resistance of sorts. Not resistance. Separatist, thank you. I was trying to think of a different word.
And I love seeing characters being portrayed by different people.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like look at the difference between Dennis Quaid's Doc Holliday and Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday. I mean, which I'll take Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday any day. But Dennis Quaid put in a really good performance in a movie that didn't get as much attention as Tombstone.
What was his? What am I missing here?
The Wyatt Earp movie.
I don't remember him. No, I don't remember him playing.
Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday as Wyatt Earp.
I gotta look this up.
Like he was Doc Holliday in Wyatt Earp. It's that he did like the more serious version, not your spaghetti Western version that Val Kilmer did.
So
But
he was in the one with Brad Pitt.
no, he was in the one with Kevin Costner, the White Earp movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was talking with Liam the other day about movies, cowboy movies that we haven't watched.
Best Western scene, in my opinion, is when Clint Eastwood walks in that bar at the end of Unforgiven. God.
There's so many, man. Don't even get me started.
that and
When you have to shoot. I mean, don't talk.
How about the gun scene when that you just showed me, Bo?
Yes, I love it because they referenced it in John Wick, and I freaking cried, man.
Oh, that scene in John Wick when he has to go and reassemble the guns and he's listening to it click, and then you showed me the original scene. And I'm just like, oh, that is so cool that they did that.
I straight up.
I still have yet to see any of those movies.
Oh, they're so good.
John Wick. Oh, dude,
I have yet to see any of them.
Make a weekend out of it.
I don't watch a lot of movies anymore. I spend most of my time playing video games or playing guitar.
You will love those John Wick movies. I guarantee you, John.
I mean, I know I will because I like guns.
It's just those movies are they're fantastic.
Which, by the way, I discussed this with a friend the other day. I'm what you would call a country hippie. I like peace and love, and I like shotguns and rifles, and it makes absolutely no sense at all.
Willie Nelson.
I like peace and love and shotguns and
Willie
rifles.
Nelson. Who else? I'd say Chris Christopherson. He's a country hippie. That's a good group.
Oh, the Highwaymen?
Yeah.
Johnny Cash.
I guess so. I guess
Johnny
everybody
Cash.
in the Highwaymen, they're country hippies.
Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson.
Yep.
Yes. I would say all those are country hippies.
That's fair.
We like peace and love, but we also like guns. And it makes no sense.
Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
When you're sitting at the table. Well, where can we hear this Country Hippies new album? When's it dropping?
It will release on September 30th worldwide on all platforms. You'll be able. I'm not sure if it'll be on Spotify, but I think it will be. I think it'll be on YouTube. I'm sure of. You'll be able to buy it off iTunes and Google, and it's a worldwide release.
Nice.
September 30th.
John Prater and the Benders, self-titled, right?
Yes, sir. Which, by the way, I'm gonna give a shout out to you for doing my album artwork because I've had a lot of compliments on that.
Thank you. Yes, I got to cross that off my bucket list. I got to, John, let me do the album cover.
I have to tell you this. My friend Brandy says when she needs some album artwork done, she just might come to you.
Excellent. I love doing artwork.
Nice.
If she asked me more about it, that's what I'm gonna tell her. I'm gonna say, talk to Bo. He'll do it for you.
Have you you're gonna be doing a show with her as well? You want to talk about her?
Oh, she's a local artist, a lot of country and a lot of. She's real soulful, and she's really good. And
yeah, I've listened to a couple of videos on
beautiful voice,
Facebook.
Beautiful. Pours her soul out in everything she does, and she has us a gig at the beginning of November at a local place around here called Triple D's, and we're gonna do some more work together. But
so if you're in the upstate South Carolina area and you're near Triple D's, keep an eye out for them. Keep an eye out for those two. She
is very, very good, and she has pretty much become my best friend.
That's nice, man.
She blows my mind. She's that good.
Very cool. She is very good.
And by the way, anybody that finds me out on Facebook, I'm probably, as we work together and stuff, I'm gonna start posting videos of us harmonizing songs together from my kitchen or whatever, just to let people hear how it sounds. Because she's really. I'm very rarely blown away by people. Just because I have a very strict sense and taste of music. But she blows my mind. And I can honestly say that. She blows my mind.
Well, we'll throw in a link to her page too, and we'll throw in a link to your page. It'll be in the descriptions. Probably by the time this this episode's released, then we'll just have a link to the album where they can buy it.
So
yeah, go and give it a listen, and it's good. I got to preview it, and it is it's legit. It's really good. You guys got to hear it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
it's before we go, I want to explain this album.
Yes, please.
When you listen to this album, there's maybe 2 story songs on it, but the majority of that album is pretty much the rise and fall of a bad relationship. So, and I mean, it's cobbled together from relationships from years, so it's got a lot of influences. Because I mean, some songs were wrote before one, after another, and after one relationship, before the next relationship, then none of them weren't very good in the first place.
Yeah.
But if you put it all together, it's the story. It's the rise and fall of a bad relationship, and that's what that album is. And it's that's about 5 or 6 years worth of writing.
Yeah, I personally recommend Moonlight when it's released. That's my personal favorite off the album.
I think mine would be Never Love Again, just for that solo part in the middle.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. But yeah, when that's released, you got to get a hold of it. It's really good. And you'll be doing, I don't know if everybody be Red Arrow Studios?
Yeah, Red Arrow Studios, September 30th. That's a Monday.
Yeah, if you happen to be in the area.
Anybody in the upstate South Carolina, I've got 100 physical copies of the CD.
Yeah, and, which I know that's going to go fast.
I'm going to get my copy, and I've got to send one out to Liam, and I've got to send one out to Jeremy and his wife. So that's 4 that I've got to get a hold of for myself right there.
I need 2.
So they're gonna. I mean, I don't know how fast they're gonna go, because you never can tell with these Facebook event. Everybody says they want one, and everybody says they'll be there. And I'm not disparaging anybody, but you know how it goes. I mean, just look at the Area 51 raid. It had 2 million followers and 40,000 showed up.
Yeah, but there's always the people that will show up and do the Naruto run.
Yeah.
My kid runs like Naruto, and she's never seen an episode of it. It's disturbing.
Clap them cheeks.
Clapping alien cheeks.
We're going to end it on that, aren't we? We are. Yeah, doesn't take us.
And that's our show. It's been a blast. I've been Dustin.
I've been Bo.
I've been John.
Have a good one.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Boom.